Buenos días, good morning. I like gave two small words for say welcome to the University for Peace for all of you. Thank you, Ambassador, for being in this meeting of the Fullbrighters. It's a great honor to receive you here in the University for Peace. Welcome to our university. The people who is the first time here, please know the university. We have a very nice park here and could look the nature. And we're very, very happy with your presence. Evelyn, you could start and then I talk about the university.
Good morning, Madam Ambassador Sharon Day, Congress Member Pedro Munoz, Gilbert Monge Pizarro, Mayor of the City of Mora, Francisco Rojas, Rector of the University for Peace, representatives from the Supreme Electoral Tribunal and the Institute of Formation and Studies in Democracy, IFED, representatives of the U.S. Embassy, dear panelists Maria Luisa Hernandez and Guillermo Arquero, dear Fulbrighters and guests. For the Board of Directors of the Fullbright Association of Costa Rica, it's an honor to have you all here. We would like to express our gratitude to Madam Ambassador Sharon Day for her valuable support of the Fullbright program in Costa Rica. We want to thank the University for Peace for joining efforts and making these possible. We would also like to say that we are thrilled to have students from two high schools that are in the neighborhood, Connell Academy and Liceo de Jariz de Mora. Although all of you are still too young for a Fullbright grant, we would like you to think big, become Fullbrighters, and change the world. Thank you for joining us this beautiful morning to reflect on the contribution of Fullbrighters to the promotion of peace and their role in international education. Senator Fullbright once called this program a modest program with an immodest aim. I guess he said this in the early stages of the program because today the Fullbright program is considered the largest and most prestigious educational exchange program in the world, providing recent college graduates, graduate students, and professionals the opportunity to continue their education or professional development through research and study in a foreign country. There is nothing modest about the Fullbright program or Fullbrighters. The more you know about the Fullbright ideals, the more you want to be part of it. As Mrs. Harriet Fullbright once said, once you have experienced the transformative force of a Fullbright grant, it is important to maintain a commitment to an international outlook for the rest of your life. And this is precisely why we are here today, to hear and share the experiences of Fullbrighters from a wide range of backgrounds with unique and priceless insights. Learn about their commitment to the Fullbright ideals of mutual understanding and peace, and their commitment to making the world a better place. We would also like to take this opportunity to announce to all Fullbright alumni that this week the State Department announced the global rollout of the Fullbrighter social networking platform. This new app allows current and alumni Fullbrighters around the world to connect, network, engage, and collaborate with the ease of one shared network. Launched in August 2019 to a pilot group, the Fullbrighter app already has over 8,000 users. So now Fullbrighters have our own app, and we can connect across borders with our fellow Fullbrighters. One more milestone of the Fullbright program to be proud of. One more reason to reiterate, there's nothing modest about the Fullbright program. We always aim high. Thank you again for accepting our invitation. At this point, I would like to invite Madam Ambassador Sharon Day to come and share some words with us.
Good morning. Buenos dias. Francisco Rojas, University for Peace Rector, Pedro Munoz, Fullbright Alumni Congressman, Guillermo Virgo, Fullbright Association, Maria Luisa Hernandez, Fullbright Alumni, Alberto Salter, Fullbright Association Board, Evelyn Aguilar, Fullbright Association Board, Helen Aguilar, Fullbright Association Board, Alina Saborio, Fullbright Association Board, ladies and gentlemen and students. It's an honor to be here with you today and to visit this beautiful University of Peace and to be part of this event that is organized by the Fullbright Association to promote peace and prosperity. As J. William Fullbright, the senator, founder of the Fullbright program, once said, the Fullbright program aims to bring a little more knowledge, a little more reason, a little more compassion into the world affairs, and thereby to increase the chance that nations will live to at last live in peace and in friendship. This was an ambitious vision, and it was a vision in 1946 that remains an essential challenge and responsibility to our very interconnected world today. Tremendous challenges stand before us. Within this region where we stand, leaders in Nicaragua and Venezuela have tightened their grips on power. They have undermined liberty and peace and economic opportunities. They have undermined securities in their own countries. Costa Rica has received thousands of immigrants that have been forced to leave behind their life as they knew it, escaping violence and escaping hunger in a quest for freedom, in a quest for a peaceful life. We know it's not easy for them, but we also understand that it's not easy for Costa Rica either. Though the challenges are many, opportunities also lay before us. Opportunities to support our neighbors as they strive to rebuild their democracies and to achieve the promising future that each of their citizens deserve. Opportunities to support human development, social advancement, economic development, and sustainable growth. Because peace is not just an absence of war. Peace is creating the conditions for prosperity, for security, for democracy, for people to live in a free society. With its long-standing stability and strong democracy, Costa Rica is the true leader in this region. That is why many countries look up to Costa Rica to learn from the path that they have already walked in terms of human rights, in terms of education, and in terms of protection for the environment. The embassy supports the goals of Costa Rica and its government through cooperation to promote economic integration, security, good governance, and democracy. We build peace through education. We build peace through women and girls empowerment. We build peace through entrepreneurship. We build peace through community security efforts. And we build peace through the protection of the precious environment. These initiatives include the Fullbright program, which strengthens the linkages between Costa Rica and Americans in addressing the 21st century's biggest challenges. As Fullbrighters, you are part of a community that has made a tremendous impact on the world, both in your studies in the United States and also in your professional lives once you return to Costa Rica. In the United States, alone 16 Fullbright alumni have received the U.S. Presidential Medal of Freedom. This is the highest offer and highest civilian honor that can be presented to any individual who have made outstanding contributions to the security and the national interests of the United States. Here in Costa Rica, Fullbright alumni have contributed to Costa Rica's long-standing peace. In fact, one of the very first individuals, and that I met with when I arrived in Costa Rica was a Fullbrighter, President Luis Guillermo Solis. As president, as well as throughout his entire life, his leadership positions, and his leadership positions in foreign policy, Mr. Solis played a decisive and a very powerful role in advancing peace in Central America. Today, as you may not know, that he also travels around the world to be part of a process that makes sure that elections are free and fair all around Central and Latin America, making sure that democracy is always one of those entities that we respect and we honor. Our take Fullbrighter, Erica Bagnagero, I'm going to get this completely wrong, Bagnarello. Bragnell, okay, a well-known Costa Rica filmmakers. whose documentary Flashes of Hope shows the journey of 103 atomic bomb survivors from Japan. Shown at film festivals around the world and supported by the United Nations Office for Disarmament Affairs, the film underscores the dangers of nuclear proliferation. Erica has ensured our youth understand this message by providing the film free of charge for schools around the world. As we have for many years known, the United States is committed to working with both past and current Fulbrighters. That we work with the institutions such as the University of Peace to support leaders promoting peace and security around the world and advancing Senator Fullbright's goal to foster leadership, to foster learning, and to foster true empathy between our countries. The Fullbright program, as it does around the world, has strengthened the ties between Costa Rica and the United States. As established leaders in your areas, and as the future leaders in your area, your expertise and possible Fulbright grantees, you are in a unique position to contribute to peace and stability for future generations. I encourage you to very seriously take what you have and to continue to build on it, and to encourage you to use the Fullbright network to continue your great works. Both within Costa Rica and throughout the entire world, you have the ability in your own hands to build and create more universal stability. As my friends Helen and Evelyn always tell me, once a Fulbrighter, always a Fulbrighter, a proud Fulbrighter. So I applaud you for coming together today as a force for good, as an opportunity to learn from each other as we discuss how we can all serve as ambassadors for peace. It is my honor to be on this beautiful campus, this Peace University campus, as we talk about the important works that we can do together to enhance the possibilities of the entire world. Thank you. Muchas gracias. God bless on your speed and on your journey. Thank you.
Well, it's a real pleasure to be here, and we're going to talk a little bit about our own experience as Fullbrighters, as peacekeepers, as we call it. So I would like to, first of all, give the opportunity to Francisco, not only a great Fullbrighter, but also a good friend of mine, and to thank you for this great opportunity to be in this beautiful campus too. So we will start with Francisco, and then we will follow by Maria Luisa, and then Pedro, and then myself, all very distinguished Fullbrighters, including myself.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your inspiring speech and being here with the Fullbrighters. I changed the play because I have some notes, but I think it's preferred to speak about the University for Peace. Because when we are in a situation of war, all the rights disappear. And disappear and appear atrocities against the citizens, the women, the children, more specifically, more than the soldiers. And then has an important impact. And today, in the world, more than 70 million of refugees and displaced will look in the world, particularly here in Central America, being quite important. And in the case of Venezuela, it's the awful situation in the whole region. The mission of the University for Peace could be summarized in one statement. If we want peace, prepare peace. If we want peace, work for peace. And in that way, we learn the work for peace is a complex task. It's a difficult task. The humanity search for stability, progress, liberty, sustainable development respect of human rights, dignity, in short, a sustainable peace. And Senator Fullbright, more than 60 years, 70 years ago, picked up this idea. And he sought and put in practice for resolve the main issue, we need trust. We need common knowledge, and we could achieve both through education. And he showed with a very small resource in comparison with the resource to invest in arms, in the race in arms, could achieve the best result through the soft power. And today, the military action in any part of the world showed not resolve any problem. For that reason, 40 years ago, next year the University of Peace will be 40 years, Presidente Carazo saw this situation. And the university was created for a similar situation appear in different moments in Costa Rica. In Costa Rica, say basically has 3 stations: rain, not rain, and the problem with Nicaragua. And during the time of Presidente Carazo, Somoza bombing the borders and near a school. And President Carazo went to United Nations and he said, I don't like to ask for military support. I like to support for change the mind of the people as the main thought said by the UNESCO and the United Nations. And for that, I like support to create the University for Peace. And this is the origin of this university. And I like to show very quickly some images of the university. And I start today with the issue presented by the Secretary General and the dangerous situation in the last report of the SDGs with the problem in the planet, and we need to confront with a positive action as the values of the Fullbright. Here is, as I said, the main issue. The university was approved by the resolution 3555, the 5 December of 1980, and it's an international organization supported by 42 different countries, and the Secretary General of the United Nations is the honorary president of the university. And Costa Rica support this university basically through these 300 hectares with the last primary forest in the provincia de San Jose. Our mission basically is to promote the spirit of understanding, tolerance, and peaceful coexistence. We have an important council with members from different parts of the world, and in this moment, Mario Carazo, the son of the Presidente Rodrigo Carazo, is the president of the council elected in the last meeting. We are a global institution. We have activities in Africa, in Addis Ababa, and the last and the new Nobel Peace Prize was alumni of our university, worked in Addis Ababa. And this year we are open an office, hopefully in Beijing, with some postgraduate there. We have activities in Manila with the Ateneo de Manila in Philippines. And also we have a permanent activities in New York, in the Office of the United Nations, and also in Geneva and Bonn. And also we have in this moment an important program for helping the dialogue in Honduras for the national reconciliation. We have four main departments. Department of Environmental and Development, Peace and Conflict, Department of International Law, and one department in Spanish is a brief of the university, is Conflict Resolution, Peace and Development, TOSH in Spanish. And also we have online program and one small doctoral program. We have 8 master degrees, for one master degree in the environmental development, and you have all these things in this small paper. And we have in this 9 master degree, in this moment we have 125 students, and we are partner in different parts of the world, from the US to Africa to Spain to Europe to Korea, and we have a working together with these universities. Basically, we receive support from 3 main partners: the Nippon Foundation for students from Japan and Southeast Asia, the China Scholarship Council for the Chinese students. This year, for the first time, we have 31 Chinese students. The 60% of the Chinese are women, and all are very bright. It's a new generation of the Chinese students, and the German DAD support with basically thinking in Central America, in Honduras, Salvador, Guatemala scholarship. The university gave also some scholarship with the reduce of the fee, and also for a merit base. Here, the headquarters, and if you don't visit the park of the university, I invite you to visit. It has a very nice monument referred to the largest tradition of Costa Rica in disarmament, peace in that part. We try to be a sustainable UPs with solar panels, reforestation. We create a greenhouse for the student work, and also the student create a green office. We have a network for more than 2,000 alumni in different parts of the world, more than 120 countries. The majority are women, and we have this network of alumni of the UPs. Has an important student life here in the university in different areas, also with celebration of the Indian festivity. And basically we are an experiential learning, diverse, multinational and multicultural community. The faculty is from different parts of the world, more than 50 visiting professors from different countries, and 14, 19 in the campus. And we protect 300 hectares in the tropical forest, and we have a high profile of the network with different personalities. We have a very good relation with our mayor in Mora. We have internship opportunities, and Ban Ki-moon say the University for Peace is one of the leading teaching center of peace in the conflict resolution. But on the other hand, Alicia Bárcena, who was a former member of our council, say the University for Peace is the best secret of the United Nations. The admission is open, and if you like to follow up, has different things to follow up. We learned as a Fullbrighter, peace means exchange, knowledge, open dialogue, and basically we learn we need to think in as a global citizenship thinking in the world. we learn, and I learned, we need peace through the action. We need more knowledge, and for that reason, the importance of the academic activities, the research, and the knowledge. But we need to go more deep in tolerance, compassion, intercultural views. For that reason, we promote the dialogue. And today, in our region, Latin America is the most violent region in the world. And for that reason, we need to accurate our activity as a University for Peace. For that reason, we like to ask our Fullbrights to help the university and support with 1 or 2 teachers a year to share their knowledge, their experience, and receive the view of our students came from more than 32, 40, 50 different countries. And we think this task produced very good result as the vision of Senator Fullbright. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Madam Ambassador, so good to see you again. Who are the students? Could you please raise your hands? I want to see you. Higher, higher. Excellent. I want to thank the Fullbright Foundation for having invited me to come here today to share my own experience as a Fullbright scholar and to talk about education and peace. I want to acknowledge that my mother is here today, and she has been a force to reckon with in terms of education. She is a teacher herself, and at age 89, she keeps on teaching, perhaps too much. I also want to acknowledge my beautiful wife, Carolina Carazo, the eldest daughter of Rodrigo Carazo Odio, back in the room. I was born and raised in the province of Guanacaste, up north. So I'm a country boy. My grandmother on my father's side was born on a little village in the town of Nuevo Colón in Sardinal, near where the Hotel Rio is, very small village there. My great-grandmother, and this is the early 20th century, my great-grandmother had the ambition of her daughter, my grandmother, to go to university. And they started walking towards León de Nicaragua, where the oldest university in Central America was established. Unfortunately, she could not make it all the way to León de Nicaragua. She stopped in Liberia, and then my grandmother met my grandfather. The rest of the history now you can see it here. Eventually, I became a lawyer and graduated from law school in the University of Costa Rica and went to Nicaragua to illegally practice law there, but I'm not talking about that. And I went to Universidad de León, presented my law school diploma, and they stamped the diploma. So I called my father and told him, your mother has finally arrived to León de Nicaragua. eventually, I got a Fullbright scholarship. And I went to the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University in Boston. And there, one of the greatest things that I learned was that there was a school of thought by the name of critical legal studies. Critical legal studies. And since I was young, very young, I always wanted to be critical. And then I learned that there was a whole school of criticism. It was wonderful. I was flabbergasted, a whole school of criticism. How do I criticize? And here I am. So, let me criticize a little bit. If you want peace, prepare for peace. Rodrigo Carazo. But let's ask ourselves the question as to why do we fight then? Because human beings, we fight a lot. Why do we fight? Students, why do we fight? Basically, I think that there are two reasons why we fight. I'm going to name them, and I'm going to talk about one of them. The first one, which I think you would easily agree with me, and that's not the one I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to name it. It's greed. That's one. I think you can easily agree with me on that one. But I want to be a little more critical. The other one is poverty. The other one is poverty. It is poverty because we fight when we are afraid. And we are afraid when we're poor, when we cannot feed our children, when we cannot cure our children, when we cannot cure our elder. We become afraid, we become then angry, and then we fight. So students, if I'm right, if we want to fight for peace, we need to fight against poverty, and we need to fight in favor of economic growth. Señor Rector, it's, in my opinion, in my not humble opinion, in my not humble opinion, when, in the types of University of Peace, the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, where I went to school myself, we do not pay enough attention to economic growth. Perhaps we pay too much attention to economic equality, but we cannot fight for economic equality if we don't fight for economic growth, because otherwise we are sharing economic poverty. Madam Ambassador, a true Republican, agrees with me. And I'm not saying this because I know that she's a true Republican and she would agree with me, but because these things need to be said and these things need to be fought for. And if the very smart Fullbright board gave me a Fullbright scholarship to go to the United States, and there was one thing which I learned, which was critical legal studies and to be critical. I cannot come today here and tell you that, in my sincerest opinion, in a world whose economy is not growing, in a world with negative interest rates in Europe, in a world that is facing it's on the verge of facing an economic depression, in a country which is full of human and natural resources, and it's also about to face an economic depression. We need to come together to turn the world around and to make the world economy grow. I know we can do this. I know we can use our intelligence, our human resources, our technology to do that. But in order to do this, we must first articulate this vision. We must first have the courage to say this. And if you gave me the opportunity to talk about this today, I could not but to say this. The latest research on poverty by INEC in Costa Rica was released yesterday. So I suggest that we all review it. Costa Rica's poverty did not increase only because poverty in Guanacaste, my home province, did not increase there. We should review why poverty increased in other parts of Costa Rica and poverty did not increase in Guanacaste. This is a very, very interesting study. Senator Fullbright comes from the United States. The United States obviously has a very important role in all this that I'm talking about. I also suggest that we take the opportunity of carrying on this conversation with Madam Ambassador and understanding quite well that the United States will keep on having a very important role in Latin America and in the world. Madam Ambassador, I conclude by saying that Costa Rica is delighted to have you as the ambassador and that we look forward to carrying on this conversation with you. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Maria Luisa Hernandez. I actually have been a Fullbrighter for about 2 years now. I came back one and a couple of months years ago. And I'm very honored to be here. I'm very, very honored to have all these students here visit us and also have government and international representatives in this occasion. I want to take this time to tell you 3 stories about 3 women. The first story is about myself. So I decided I wanted to be a, sorry. Okay, I decided I want to be a Fullbrighter because of my aunt. I'm sorry.
I knew that was what happened.
I'm very emotional. This is actually the first time I'm speaking in a public such as this one, so relevant, and the first time I'm part of a panel that is so relevant as this one. So I'm really honored, and I'm sorry I'm so emotional. Okay, so the first one is about me. I decided I wanted to be a Fullbrighter because of my aunt. She was a Fullbrighter herself, and I really admire her. So when I was growing up, I had always this goal in mind. I was preparing, I was studying, I was doing everything with this goal in my mind. Thanks to my parents, I had the opportunity of going to a very good high school in Costa Rica, the Humboldt School, where I was there with a scholarship as well. And the time I had to be there and be able to interact with people from different cultures, I had the opportunity of being an international student in Germany, of learning as a teenager how to interact with people from different cultures gave me an idea of the world that was broader than the one I was seeing in people around me. At a certain point, I had the opportunity of participating also in another international education program, which is called CISV. It's a program for peace. It's peace education, non-formal peace education. I was a volunteer there for a long time, and that strengthened my view of the importance of international education. Further down the line, the time came to apply for a Fullbright scholarship. I had studied business and international relations at the National University in Costa Rica, thanks to this country that gives us free education and the opportunity to become better at what we do. And actually, some people from the embassy came to my university, and I said, okay, now's the time. My time has come. And I started preparing everything that I needed to be able to apply to a Fullbright scholarship. I then applied, and my thought was, okay, so I want to do a master's abroad. I want to do a master's in public administration because I want to work in things that have an impact in the world. And what I decided was I wanted to do nonprofit management. And a lot of that came from my experience being an employee here at the University for Peace, working with Don Francisco. I figured in order to run a successful NGO, you need management skills. You definitely need politics. You need to know about diplomacy. You need to be able to analyze the international system. You need all of that. But you also need management skills. You need to know how to be a good leader. You need to know how to talk to your employees, how to read a financial statement, how to prepare reports, and all of those things. I felt, although I had studied business as one of my undergrad, I felt I was lacking these skills. So I decided to go and apply for a Fullbright scholarship, and I got admitted to several universities and ended up going to Syracuse University, where they have the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs. This is a very prestigious school. It is a top-ranked program in the U.S., and being there changed me completely. And of course it changed me because I learned and I got better academically, but I feel that my growth was more in terms of my experience itself. So, and here is where the second story comes. But I just want to say that the growth I had in living by myself, because here I used to live with my parents, and I went out, had to learn to cook, had to learn how to be alone, how to be by myself with no one around me, and that was a great growth for me. And I also learned about the people around me. So this story is about how you apply peace in your daily life and in your daily interactions. After meeting a couple of people in the US, I learned that in Costa Rica we have a way of dealing with conflict that tends to have two ways of doing it. Either you are a very upfront person that says everything and is a little bit conflictive, or you find yourself in a conflict, you don't do anything about it, you go away and you tell someone and you talk about it, and then that's it. So that is something that I realized being in the US, because I feel like my classmates and my teachers and everyone, they were able to deal with conflict. They saw conflict in front of them and they would just deal with it. Do something about it, talk about it assertively, and then move on. And nothing happened, nothing bad happened. And I had a classmate, her name was Elizabeth de Joseph, and she taught me a lesson. Once we were out having a beer in a bar, and we were just sitting there, and then two classmates were making fun of another classmate. This was a classmate that didn't have a lot of hair. She had had a disease, and therefore they were making fun of this aspect of her. And Elizabeth turned to them and she just said, you know what, it's really easy to be funny when you make fun of vulnerable people. That's not that funny. It would be funny if it was a smart joke or something better, but you're just using a vulnerable person and throwing a joke at them. She said that, and immediately she continued the conversation, talked about other things, and to me it was, I was very amazed by this because I had only imagined a situation like this end in a fight or end in people being just annoyed and leaving and not being comfortable with this. But she just said, this is what I think. I don't think of you less as people. I just think that you should be careful with this. And we continued being friends and we continued speaking. And that was totally fine. So yeah, that's the second story, and that is one piece of learning that I got from my Fullbright experience. And the third story that I want to talk about is a story about that has to do with what I do right now, what I work in. I want to tell you about another woman. Her name is Estela Alemán. She is from Guanacaste, from La Cruz, specifically from Coajiquil. This is one of the poorest counties in Costa Rica. I don't know what the report from yesterday says about specifically La Cruz, but in the last one it was in the top 3 cantones with lowest development. And she inspired me because right when I was coming back from my Fullbright experience and starting my new job, I had never worked in anything related to environment, and it was a first experience, and I was trying to figure out how environment fit into my objectives that were much more inclined to the social part. And being there with Doña Estela helped me understand that the work that I am doing, working for sustainability, working for the conservation of ecosystems, is very closely related to social issues. Doña Estela is a leader in her community. She has worked to create a marine protected area in the area where she lives, in Coajiquil. And this marine protected area does not only mean protection for the environment here, it also means business opportunities, it also means access to new markets, it means having a community that has no access to being involved with what happens here in San Jose, become part of this bigger structure. And that's where I found out that even though I'm working in sustainability, I am working for Doña Estela, I am working for people in Barra del Colorado that have little access to making their voices heard and being active participants in this society. And finally, I would like to talk about responsibility. I learned a couple of years ago that responsibility is not something you are given, it's something you take. And people can be giving me all of the responsibility they want, but if I don't take it, it's not mine. And what I feel is we need to be responsible for something in this world. Either it is for the environment or it is for your children if you're a father or a mother, or if it is for politics or whatever you are doing, you have to do it in a responsible way. You have to take that responsibility and make it yours so that the product that you get out of this will be an improvement for the world we live in. Thank you.
I'm going to say a few things to finish this part. And thank you everyone for being here. Thank you again, Ambassador, because it has been a wonderful opportunity to be here with you. Pedro, of course, is one of those active deputies of Congress, fighting all the time, but for the good causes, which is good thing. Gilberto, of course, I wanted to recognize your presence here because Gilberto is a community worker, really a person who has given everything for this community. So I want to tell you that we are pleased to have you here too. And pleased to have also Maria Teresa Casas, National Director of AFS, because AFS is another organization that is close to our principles too. And of course, we're very happy to be here with Francisco and the University of Peace and dear Fullbrighters and dear friends. 30 years ago, I became part of this community, the Fullbrighters. But I must admit, but before that, I was an AFS exchange student. I must tell you that, because international education, what I learned, was long before I became a Fullbrighter. And I think it's important for me to express that, because I'm very proud to be part of two important programs that have helped to create a better world in many different ways, because there are thousands of people whose lives have been touched by both organizations, in a very different level, of course. I must tell you that last year I went to participate of 50 years of my graduation class in Delaware and see my good friends. I still in touch with my host family, friends, classmates. But let me tell you that I was not the only one who learned about international education. I think they did too, because this is both ways, and it's extremely important when you create an impact, because otherwise it would be impossible for me to get back 50 years later and having this type of links and relationship. Now, when we take the how AFS and how the Fullbright programs, both programs started, is very interesting. AFS was created by ambulance drivers who were witnessed the sorrow and the pain in the battlefields of the First and Second World War. So it was an organization created by ambulance drivers, thinking that compassion, understanding, and peace were extremely important. And they thought for many years before the program was created. Now this program is 100 years old. In the case of the Fullbright program, a visionary man, J. William Fullbright, and I always have to tell this story. I'm very proud to say I met Senator Fullbright in Washington back in 1990, and I was absolutely impressed by his personality, because it was a very interesting activity. We were celebrating the decade of environment, so it was an activity absolutely concentrated on the issue of environment, and Senator Fullbright was there. And the issue of environment was, during the decade of the 90s, was already an issue. When I became Fullbright as a Fullbright scholar in Chicago, it was in the context of the peace plan in Central America. So, turmoil times, very difficult times, but I also had the experience not only to understand the difficult times we were having during those years in the 80s, but also the fact that some of my classmates in Delaware had also been killed in Vietnam. So I lost friends in Vietnam, I lost friends and classmates in Central America, and to have a sensation or to get to touch the cruelty of war also make you feel different in many ways. It is impossible to ignore war, and that's why I think the best place we could ever have this activity today is the University for Peace. So thank you, Francisco. Last month, I had a wonderful opportunity. I had the opportunity to go to Russia and to give a class to a group of Russian students in Moscow. And I was invited by the AFS organization to talk to this class of Russian students. And then all of a sudden, when I was there in that class, in front of those Russian students and the faculty who was there, Senator Fullbright came to my mind. Because when Senator Fullbright created the Fullbright program, it was in the middle of the Cold War. It was the confrontation between the Soviet Union and the US, the bipolar system that took thousands of lives around the world. So you realize the importance of international relations. You realize the importance of peace, and you realize the importance of international education only when you talk to different people. People who have a different view, people who have a different way of thinking, because that's the moment when you realize how important these type of programs are and the way they shape our own lives. But that was not only the only reason why that I went to Russia for. There was another special reason. I went to Moscow with the Comptroller General of Costa Rica, Marta Acosta, to an international congress with representatives of 160 countries. We obtained during that international congress of superior audit institutions and on behalf of our institution, the maximum award of excellence given every 3 years in that forum. Last time a Latin American country received this honor was more than 25 years ago. So I don't imagine when Costa Rica and our institution, after 25 years, among 160 countries, is going to get that award again, that award of excellence. But not only that, our institution also got an award for a youth leader who was distinguished among 60 countries too. So we got 2 awards. Now, what is the relation to this? Well, it happens that the Comptroller General is also a former AFS student. Marta Costa understands also the importance of international education, and she has been a very important leader that has been widely and worldwide recognized. And recently, she also was at the United Nations talking about the SDG goals that are extremely important. Now, to conclude, we are living in very complex times. There is no doubt of that. We have new challenges nowadays, technological challenges, climate challenges, political challenges, communication and information challenges. But we must understand, especially Fulbrighters, and especially those who are involved with international education, we must understand that we need to adapt, to adjust the compass of our minds to the complex times we are living in. Because my question nowadays is, it's not enough to have a wonderful individual experience. It's not enough to have a great, that you're recognized because you're so great, because you're a Fullbrighter or an AFSer and walk together, talk together. That's not the question. The question is if we, individuals, do not have the capacity to work with other people, with other organizations, with people like ourselves, we're going nowhere. We must have to understand that if we believe we are fireflies, in a way, we must try to join efforts. We must try to see what phone is ringing. We must try to get together to create this network of will to change. Otherwise, it is practically impossible. One of our criticisms, and taken from Pedro's words, is that sometimes we believe we are so great that we deserve the attention of the world. And that's one problem with the Fulbrighters. Sometimes we believe we are, the maximum stars, and we should be very famous for that. No, I think Francisco said that before, and Pedro mentioned it too. It's through action, it's through active citizenship that we can change things. Challenges are so difficult, and Pedro knows probably this better than most of us, that the situation we are having right now is very, very, very difficult in this country. So if we can get together to get far away from the abyss, we need to move in a way that we have to develop enough synergy to work together, to talk together. Well, that's it. I don't want to say anymore. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
We're going to start the question and answer session, but first we're going to excuse Madam Ambassador. She has to leave. She has a previous appointment. And thank you very much for being here, Ambassador. Thank you for your support.